Good afternoon, BrickCon. How's it going? Anybody get some cool stuff this weekend? Yeah, maybe a little bit. All right, well, this is a new presentation for BrickCon that I was asked to bring in. So you're all my guinea pigs because I haven't done this one before. So I apologize if I get a little weird in the process, but the point is everybody's creative and being weird is sometimes being creative. Who am I? I am Deneen McDermott. I'm on Instagram as Brickworm, BRICKWYRM, like the dragon, not the slithery thing. I have spent a couple decades in the toy and game industry. I've worked for Fisher-Price. I've worked for Wizards of the Coast. I've worked for, currently working for Funko Games. So I've done board games, I've done toys, I've done video games. I'm a creative spirit. My bachelor's degree is in industrial design from Purdue University, but the reason I'm here today is to talk to you about creativity. I have a master's certificate in creative studies from Buffalo State in New York State. And that's where I've learned a lot of what I'm going to try and impart to you today. So what we're going to cover is we're going to talk what is creativity, because a lot of people think it's a lot of different things. We're going to talk about what the secret weapon is for creativity. We're going to discuss what out of the box means. You hear out of the box all the time. Does it always, what does that mean to you? What does it really mean? And how can we break you out of that box? And we're going to talk a little bit about the types of creative thinking. There are two primary types of creative thinking, and I don't want to get too deep into them right now because I'm going to do that in my 201 session tomorrow at 10 a.m. So creativity. Creativity is defined by scholars as anything that is new and useful. These would include things like art, believe it or not. You think of creative things, you think of art. But is that new? Yeah, most of the time. Is it useful? It's useful in ways that you may not necessarily be aware of. It's useful in opening your thought to new ideas, to new experiences, to take you places that you haven't been before, to bring out emotions to you. So the use of creativity in art is something that is not to be downplayed. So many people might, but I think this group hopefully does not. Creativity is not just artistic talent, though. Creativity is used in a lot of different ways. It is not only about Einstein and Mozart. Creativity comes down to the basic levels of everyday life, as well as the big, broad geniuses of creativity. It is not chaos and anarchy, although sometimes it feels like it. And it's not just for children and the wackos and the crazies, the dreamers. Creativity is adaptive and innovative, and there's a spectrum between them. Some people will be more adaptive with their creativity and some people will be more innovative. What do I mean by those two extremes? Innovative people are the Wright brothers. They're the ones that made that first airplane. Adaptive people are the ones that gave you the 747. It's not a brand new thing. They just kept expanding on what they already had. They adapted what was there and made it better, made it new and more useful. Creativity is for anybody who needs new ideas. Do we need new ideas? We all need new ideas. Every day you need a new idea, once in a while. And creativity is obtainable. It's obtainable. I'm looking at my notes because I don't have this memorized. I'm not Brandon the teacher. It's obtainable through skills and experiences and attitude. So creative problem solving training I have had. I'm going to give you a taste of it. There are places you can find it online. There are places you can find it as a brand of circle of study. Your personal experiences, your attitude and motivation combined with creativity techniques and training are going to give you the maximum amount of creativity that you can get. And I should have brought water up here, even though I can't have water in the room. Okay, we talked a little, I mentioned a little bit about being creative every day. There are places where in a world that's constantly changing, you need to be creative every day. If something's changing, you need to be able to adapt to it. If you can't adapt to it, you're going to be in a world of hurt. So, are you creative? Have you ever made up an excuse? Have you wrapped a present? Have you decorated your house? Have you had input on decorating your house? Have you ever used a salad bar? That's a creative experience, believe it or not. Have you ever explored a new route? All of these things are creative endeavors. They're the little creativities. They're not Mozart, they're not Einstein, but they're the little moments of creativity in your life that I want you to remember, think about, and celebrate. And there's a special reason for that that we'll get into when we talk about the secret weapon. In a world that's constantly changing, you have to be creative. We start out as creative beings. We are creative beings. We forget our creativity. We unlearn our creativity as we grow older. Some of us more readily than others. There was actually a study where they took a creativity assessment given to NASA engineers and personnel, asked this of several different age groups, and sadly, only 2% of adults were listed as creative geniuses. 95% of 5-year-olds are creative geniuses. Y'all were creative geniuses when you started out. So yes, you are creative. It's obvious from this that non-creative behavior is learned and imparted to us. So, okay, secret weapon. It's right there. Attitude is everything. There are reasons that our attitude tells us, there's reasons we tell ourselves we're not creative. Because we're not Mozart, we're not Einstein, we're not creative geniuses on the big scale of eccentric masterpieces, but we are creative every day. We make salads, we make clothing choices in the morning, we find different routes to work when crazy construction happens. But why don't we acknowledge our creativity? I don't believe it's your fault. I believe that society stresses the normal. We engage in a pastime that most people would not consider normal. So maybe we're a little bit out there. There's a stigma of failure. People don't like to fail. But creativity is often about failure. How many times did Einstein say or it was Edison who said, how many times he had to create a light bulb before he found one that actually worked? A lot of failure going on there. Our current society focuses on fast results. Creativity shouldn't be fast. The education system is training us to give one direct answer for a question. What is 2 + 2? Okay, I heard a couple creative answers out there, and I appreciate you for that. And business. Business tells you they love innovation, but they hate creativity. There's something about that word. They lump it in with the artists and the wackos. However, innovation is creativity. So stop saying you're not creative and stop comparing your efforts and your ideas, because even the little ones are creative. And if you start celebrating those little creative ideas, you'll adopt that attitude that is your secret weapon to creativity. So You are unique and creative. Embrace your failures. I don't really need to read this, do I? Practice creativity, practice creative thinking. Creative thinking is about asking questions, making connections, and embracing ambiguity. But the big problem is we have habits. We have boxes that we've put ourselves in. And we've heard the expression, think outside the box. When somebody tells you that, they want you to give them an idea we haven't done before, which is not really what they need to be thinking about. They really need to be thinking outside the box. Because there are things boxing you in. There are things like fear, self-doubt, and a bunch of sacred cows. The sacred cows and habits are probably some of the biggest boxes that we have. We'll go back to the education system. What's 2 + 2? Most obvious answer is 4. That's the answer your first grade teacher wanted you to give. I'm here to tell you there's an infinite number of answers to that question. There's an infinite number of answers to that question that are mathematically based and are correct. What's 2 + 2? 1 + 3. 8 divided by 4. No, 8 divided by 2. Try again. What's 2 + 2? 2 to the power of 2. There's so many answers. You can because there's an infinite number of numbers, there's an infinite number of answers. All right, that's still, we've broken out of the school one answer box. Let's break out of another box. Let's break out of that mathematical box. What is 2 + 2? I'm going to tell you fruit salad. Have I jumped too far out of the box for you? Fruit salad? Okay. Here's why I say fruit salad. I have 2 apples and 2 oranges sitting on my counter. I have a family of 5 I need to feed. 2 apples and 2 oranges is fruit salad. So to step up, you need to be aware of the boxes that you're in. So first, there's that box that school has given you. One answer. There's only one answer to every question. There's not one answer to every question. There are an infinite number of answers to the questions that your teachers told you there was one answer to. How many answers are there to the questions that haven't been asked yet? So breaking out of your boxes is going to be one of the hardest things you do, but you have to find those boxes, know those boxes are there. Okay, so one answer, maybe not. Let's step away from one answer. Okay, mathematical answers. Yeah, I can give an infinite number of mathematical answers to 2 + 2. But what if I don't want to give a mathematical answer? Okay, let's go in a different direction. Let's go towards literacy. What is 2 + 2? It's a question. That's a right answer. What is 2 + 2? It's a sentence. Might be a little off there. What is 2 + 2? It's fruit salad. That's my culinary answer. I got to answer that for my family. So get out of your box, but you have to discover those boxes. Some of them are going to be fears. Some of them are going to be fears that are imparted onto you from society. Some of them are your self-doubts. Some of them are your sacred cows. Some of them are sacred cows you didn't even know you had. And some of them are just limited experiences. The more you know about how things work, I mean, in the Western world, we think of only one way to use a toilet. I'm going to go there, sorry. In the Eastern world, there's a whole different toilet structure going on. There are more complicated toilets. There are less complicated toilets. They're all still toilets. So you may be thinking in one direction, whereas a different experience, a different worldview, a different culture may give you a whole different answer to something you're working on. Okay, how do you unbox yourself? Well, we know what the secret weapon is. It's attitude. Thank you. Experiences, they certainly help. It's letting your mind be open. Stop being your own worst bully in your head. And creative training, creative thinking training. I'm going to give you a smattering of that here, give you a smattering of it tomorrow. There's a whole world of creative thinking out there and a lot of terms that I'm going to throw at you. Hopefully this presentation will be available for you online. Otherwise, you can contact me and I'll let you know what I can help you with. Creative thinking. Two primary types of creative thinking according to the program that I was studying. Other programs will talk about lateral thinking, they'll talk about divergent thinking. Both of those I find as lateral thinking and something else. I don't remember what Firestein was using. But the first type of primary creative thinking is the thing that we think of. It's the blue sky. Give me brainstorming. What is brainstorming about? It's coming up with lots of ideas. It's wonderful. It's divergent thinking. It's taking a specific narrow thing and widening the options. Give us lots and lots of options. When you don't have enough good ideas, you want to come up with more ideas. It's being open and multi-directional. It's freeing and diverging. It's not diverting, it's diverging. Divergent thinking, there's a lot to it. And then there's convergent thinking. So after you come up with all these ideas, you can't possibly do an infinite number of ideas. You can't make an infinite number of mocks. Oh boy, would we have would have that much time to make an infinite number of mocks. Wouldn't that be wonderful? You have to converge back down. You have to focus down to specific answers that are going to work for you. When you have too many good ideas, you have to get analytical and come down to a convergent point. So divergent makes things bigger, convergent comes together to focus in on one or a few ideas. Divergent thinking. Well, there's more than one right solution. We already talked about that a little bit, right? To find the best solution, stop worrying about the right one. If you're thinking that there's only one right answer, you're going to stop when you find one right answer. The first right answer is not always your best right answer. I'm sure many of you who have ever had a roommate or a partner or even a child or a parent realize that there's often two ways to get something done around the house. There's their way and the right way, right? Because your way is going to be the right way. There's more than one right answer. And the people who realize that there's more than one right answer of how to get something done around the house are usually happier too. So less squabbling. So give yourself time. And with divergent thinking, the primary thing you want to do is make sure that you're giving yourself enough room to find those ideas. There are rules to divergent thinking to keep you from judging yourself early. You want to judge yourself when you're going into the convergent part of it. You want to stay away from the judgment, open yourself up to divergent thinking. It's like, what ideas can we have? You've heard the term when they talk about brainstorming, there's no bad ideas. And then the CEO walks in and says poo-poo over everybody's ideas as they're talking about it. No, that's not the right time to be doing that. There's no wrong ideas, because you also, divergent thinking builds on other ideas. So somebody will say something about fruit salad. Then somebody will say, well, what if we had apples? What if we had apples for the teachers? What if apples for the teachers meant something other than just apples? What if it meant we fed our teachers better? Maybe we should just pay our teachers better. Oh my gosh, we should pay our teachers better. We got there from fruit salad. How did that happen? So don't dismiss ideas while you're in your divergent thinking area. Give yourself time to do divergent thinking. Give yourself to find the best ideas. Studies have shown that if you ask people to do brainstorming, and I'm going to use this in quotes because there is a definitive way to do brainstorming, and most companies don't do it right. But if you give yourself time to do brainstorming and come up with ideas, you're going to come through in the first 3 minutes and give all the ideas that have been done before, all the ordinary ideas. You're not going to give the way out there ideas. You're not going to build on the other ideas. You're not going to take those ideas and adapt them a little bit to take them a next level, to take that Wright Brothers airplane to the next level, and then take the 727 to the 747, and to the next thing that goes on, to the space shuttle, for heaven's sakes, we're flying to space. Divergent thinking. There are ways of measuring divergent thinking. It's often through fluency, originality, flexibility, and elaboration. I'm going to run through some of this. Some of this is a little techy. I'm going to run through it a little fast. I apologize if this is what you're really keying in on. Joy Paul Guilford posits that there are 180. He said 120, but he actually doubled up on a thing that he shouldn't have. Types of creative thinking, and they are based off of a multidimensional process. So we understand that Mozart is not creative like Einstein is creative, is not creative like Marie Curie is creative. These are all different ways of being creative. Our scientists are creative because they ask analytical questions and they look for multiple answers. They diverge until they can converge. There are several divergent ways to test for a specific type of one of those 180 types of testing. So any creativity test is only going to really probably test you in one of these areas. If you take a creativity test and it tells you, it's never going to tell you you're not creative. It shouldn't. It would be a terrible test. But you may not be strong in one of these areas. And if you keep comparing yourself to say, I'm not artistic, well, but are you good with math? Are you good with words? Are you good with music? There's lots of different ways to be creative. And not everybody who's good with music is good with music in the same way. Some people are expressive with music. Some people are creative in interchanging music or layering music. So think of those different things are all different ways of the 180 ways of being creative. And divergent thinking is just one of those slices down the creative thinking path, because you can be creative in your converging as well as your diverging. You can be creative in your memory as well as the other two. Okay, I mentioned there are divergent thinking tests, the alternate uses test. This is often used, it's funny, the classic test for alternate uses is list as many ways as you can think of to use a brick. They're thinking a construction clay red brick, but I think it's super appropriate for here. The incomplete figure test. How well are you at drawing the rest of this squiggle? I think some of us have seen that happen in grade school and middle school. When I was in middle school, we had book covers that had these incomplete squiggles, and they kind of wanted you to finish them out. Associations. And then there's convergent thinking. Convergent thinking is much more analytical and focused, and we think we're good at it. We think we're really good judges, aren't we? We judge everything. We judge the traffic on the way into work. We judge the driver who's cutting people off on the roads. We were doing that on the way in this morning, in fact. And that's true. Convergent thinking uses judgment, but it also needs to use organization, logic, focus, analysis, and structure. You need to be specific about your judging and when you're judging. Some examples of ways that we can converge, listing pros and cons. We already know how to do this. We list pros, we list cons. There's a better way to do that I'll bring up in Creativity 201. We can rank things. It's like, I like this one better than that one. So many lists on the internet of ranking different things. That's convergent. SWOT. How many of you have heard of SWOT? Okay, you've got a marketing department near you then. SWOT is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It's a way of comparing what you have internally and what outside influences are affecting whatever you're working on, and whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. Strengths, weaknesses, internal, opportunities, and threats, external. It's just a grid system. There's lots of different. Convergent thinking loves to have grid systems. They're very analytical. They're very linear. It's one of their creativity expertises. So, but we can be better at convergent thinking as well. It's not just judging. It's being affirmative in your judgment, finding the positive parts of the judgment. lot of constructive criticism gets to be a little more heavy on the criticism and less on the constructive, but it also needs to be affirmative. If you tell somebody what they're doing right before you tell them what they're doing wrong, they'll listen to you longer. It's being deliberate, considering the goals of the convergent thinking. Just judging somebody, if there's no purpose to your judgment, then maybe you're the one that should be judged. Maybe you're the a-fool, putting it into that term. I love that that joke goes over here. You guys are my people. Yes. Convergent thinking is also still improving on ideas. So sometimes even when you're converging, you then have to take this little divergence to say, oh, what if, how might we make that better? What if, how to make that happen? How to make that work? And it's embracing the novelty, finding that new thing, that special thing that's going on in what's happening here. All right, in summary, you guys didn't want to read all that. There was a lot there. What's the big secret weapon to creativity? Attitude. Great. Okay, perfect. I got done what I came to do here. Attitude is what's the secret weapon. Unboxing yourself. Were you all aware that you were living in a box? Yeah. Are you ready to jump out of that box? Yeah, I like it. Good. And build a relationship with divergent and convergent thinking. And sometimes that means it's going to be a little bit of work. I'm still working on it. I know I need to improve. I was judging people on the way into work today. Or into the sessions this morning. There was no goal happening there. There was no constructive reason for it. Still doing it. But learn the rules and practice them, and then adapt them and use them in your own way. This is kind of a big, broad topic. Wasn't really focused on the brick building kind of thing that you might have thought it was going to be. But the point here is that everybody is creative. You started out as a creative person. Hopefully you've retained a little bit of it. If you haven't, you can get a little bit more of it back through some of these things. Unbox yourself, adjust your attitude, and delve into what creative thinking, divergent thinking, convergent thinking really means. Training is available. There's a whole program for it, master's program at the Center for Studies in Creativity, the International Center for Studies in Creativity. Yeah. In Buffalo State, as part of the SUNY network. They actually have a distance learning program, so you don't have to be on campus all the time to learn it. It's a lot of fun. I had a ball. There's also graduates of that program who have developed their own programs that are out there. There are disciples of Jacob Guilford, there are disciples of Roger Firestein, and a number of other names that'll pop up when you start looking into creative thinking and specifically creative problem solving, because the best times to be creative is when you have a problem that you need to solve. Sure, you can go with the fast and easy answer, but we know there's an infinite number of answers out there. We've already talked about that. There are specific publications for creativity that I've listed here. I'm not really going to talk about them specifically. They're just, there they are. And that's what I came to talk to you guys about. We got lots of times for questions. I knew this one was going to go short. So hopefully we can, if there's something specific you want me to touch on again, like I said, I am going to go a little deeper into some of these things in the 201 session. But are there questions in the audience? Yeah.
How do you unbox yourself?
How do I unbox myself? That's a very good question. Well, being aware of it. So sometimes it's a matter of figuring out, why am I doing this? So I'm doing a thing. I'm probably doing it out of habit or routine. Why am I doing it? Why is that a habit? Why is it a routine? And then taking how, why and how are actually two of the primary questions you want to ask yourself when you're in a creative thinking mode. Why am I doing this? Okay, let's start with, Mom, I need a broom. Why? I want to get a cookie. Why? It's stuck on the fridge. So getting to the right problem is often part of that why exercise. But why am I in a box? Why am I doing this? Why am I standing up here? Why do I say all the time when I'm public speaking? Why? Because I haven't trained myself out of it? That's a answer. I start diverging. I'm a classic diverger. I love to diverge. I would come up with a bunch of ideas. My brother's over here laughing at me right now because he knows that this is true. I will come up with a bunch of ideas. Executing on the ideas is a little bit harder for me, and that's okay. There are lots of different creativity styles. But you start to recognize yourself. I've taken a number, because of the training programs I've been through, I've taken a number of self-evaluations that help me identify the boxes that I am in and that I'm strongest in. Because sometimes you want to be in that box. Maybe I don't want to be in this school box, but maybe I want to be in this culinary box. That sounds fun. Let's have fun with food. So sometimes it's a matter of knowing what the boxes are, putting yourself in a different box. You want to unbox yourself from a school attitude? Let's go over, okay, well, culinary's here. What's that box? Gym? Okay, let's go into the gymnastics sports box. Okay, 2 + 2 in sports. Oh my gosh, sounds like overtime. Soccer fans, sorry. So, what box are you in? If you're worried about being in a box, think specifically about a different box. How would somebody else solve that problem? How would I solve that problem if I were a NASA expert? How would I solve that problem if I were Julia Child? How would I solve that problem if I were on a reality TV show? Does that answer your question? Yeah. Somebody up in the upper seats. Oh, I got it too. 2 + 2. 2 questions in one? Not quite. Not quite. Anything from the audience at home?
So far, you've answered all their questions.
Okay, wow. I'm talking a lot more than I thought I might. Well, I will thank you all then. Like I said before, I'm Brickworm on Instagram. If you have additional questions, you can reach me there. I'm not on there every moment of the day, but I will try to get back to you in a day or two. So,